I'm Jake Sanderson.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is the Postcast, presented by the Locked On Senators podcast, and of course, our friends at the Glebe Central Pub. Make sure to visit the GCP at 779 Bank Street and let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. On Sens game days, you'll get 10% off your order. And if you're going to go to the CTC this year, make sure to get on the Sens shuttle for just $17 round trip to and from the CTC. The bus leaves an hour and 15 minutes before the game. And on a night like tonight, you wished it left an hour before the game ended, but it leaves 15 minutes after. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Jack Richardson, covering a 4-0 shutout loss to the division last place team, the Buffalo Sabres. Jack, we've done 3 postcasts, just you and I. They've all been memorable. The Anton Forsberg double MCL tear injuries, the Claude Giroux slap shot against San Jose, an unreal win there, and tonight, the lowest point of the Senators season. Vancouver game at home be damned. The way this team failed to execute is flat out embarrassing in front of the home crowd that booed them off the ice at the end of the second and booed them off the ice after this game, deservedly so.
That is probably the worst game I've seen from this collective group of core players, or at least most disappointing. Maybe not the worst overall, but sticks out for sure on home ice, especially after such a long road trip. Such a long time away from the CTC. It wasn't even that long of a road trip. They were broken up by 2 kind of stretches at home with Christmas. They came back last weekend. So we can get into all of that, all the excuses that have been poured out for this hockey team in the last 2-3 weeks. That was by far the most disappointing game I've ever seen this core play. And we'll get into all the guys who need to be better. The execution to me is concerning. It's been concerning for the last month. They haven't scored more than 4 goals in a game. They've only done it twice in now the last 17 games, Ross. That's almost half the season that they've played so far. It's a problem. We'll get into everything, but we're here to vent. This is a vent cast. We were way too nice to this hockey team after the game in St. Louis, after the game against Detroit. We were way too nice. I think we gave them way too many passes. This was embarrassing tonight. So we will get into all of it. We're here to vent.
And talk about the flu. 3 players on Buffalo didn't play because of the flu. It's going through their room, and they still came out and played. They still took advantage of their chances. Anyone who's affiliated with the Ottawa Senators, any player, coach, manager, trainer, equipment staff, PR, please turn off the podcast right now if you're listening, because I might not mean everything I say tonight, but I feel very strongly about what I've witnessed for now the 7th straight game. They're 1-5-1 in their last 7 games off the heels of that win streak. They've been now shut out twice in their last 3 games. They got basically 2 power play goals last game. The Shabbat goal was 5 seconds after one ended. This team sucks at finishing at even strength. We clowned on Team Canada at the World Juniors for always having a huge shot advantage and having 0 high danger chances. That was the Ottawa Senators tonight. And I'll pull it up, the game recap. If you look at it on paper, Ottawa outshot Buffalo 35-21. That doesn't tell the story of the game at all. This team made this so easy on Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. He could have legitimately been playing this game in a rocking chair, and it wouldn't have made a goddamn difference.
Something I want to get out of the way early here, Ross, and I think you'll side with me. I don't even want to talk about goaltending for the Sens in this game because I thought Forsberg, what do you want him to do in that first period? And he stopped, I think, 3 other grade A opportunities for the Sabres. They missed the net wide on 2 of them. They had I think 5 or 6 great looks in the first period and they scored on 2 of them. So I don't want to listen. I know people Forsberg has not been good this season. That's not being hidden. He hasn't been good since this winning streak. When Ullmark went down, he's been bad. He's had 1 good game and it was in Detroit. But we're not talking about the goaltending in this game because you could have put Connor Hellebuck. You could have put Linus Ullmark back there if he was healthy. This team did not show up to play. And maybe it's a psyche thing. When you've got Ullmark back there, you play better. But even if that's the thing, like we talked about it on the postcast after the Detroit game, we talked about, they've got a lot of injuries going on. And I even saw it tonight when Noah Gregor went down. If Noah Gregor going down is a problem, that's an issue. The entire top six has been healthy all season. They've played every single game. Shane Pinto missed a bit of time. He's been there the whole time. There are no excuses that I'm willing to hear about why this team can't score goals right now. And it comes, to me, it falls right on the players. I think this is a big enough sample now after this win streak where I'm starting to get really concerned about some core guys on this hockey team.
Yeah, and I've got a lot more to say, but let's run through the scoring summary for those watching this or listening on their way to work in the morning, you self-loathing mother. 0 for 4 on the power play, both teams go. Ottawa snaps back 61% of the faceoffs in this game. Buffalo with 15 blocks to only 9 for Ottawa. Senators out-hit Buffalo 27-21, and the expected goals at 5-on-5, 64.5% in Ottawa's favor. Of course, a little bit of score effects in there. It was 85% for Ottawa in the third period, where it was 4-0 going into the third. This game was so over. The only glass half full we're doing on this show is whatever the hell is in here, because this is a complete joke of what we're seeing right now. A team that has how many $8 million players? How many goals have the $8 million boys gotten in the last 7 games?
There's 5 $8 million players. I'm putting on the camera there. 5, 6 if you count Olmark. And I can run through the goals here, Ross. You want me to go through the stats, the last 11 games played?
Love it, please. I'll tell you, they got none tonight. Since
December 12th, that's the game after Anaheim where they won 5-1. It was dominant.
That's December during 12th. The 6-game win streak. So you're including games on the win streak.
I'm including like the high of highs we had as Sens fans. It was the best. They were playing good hockey, but they weren't scoring a ton. And now that they're not winning games and they're letting up a bit more, it's coming to fruition here. So last 11 games played, Brady Tkachuk leads the way, tied with Shane Pinto and Jake Sanderson with 7 points in 11 games, which I don't consider good enough. He has 4 goals and 2 overtime winners during that win streak. So big goals, but just 4 goals for Tkachuk in the last 11 games. Not great. It gets worse. Josh Norris, 2 goals, 3 points in 11 games played. Tim Stützle, 2 goals, 5 points in 11 games played. Claude Giroux, 2 goals, 6 points in 11 games played. And Drake Batherson, 1 goal, 4 points in 11 games played. That is not good enough. You can talk about Steve Stais needing to make a move. Should we make a move for a top 6 forward? Give these guys some help. Make a move for a backup goaltender. I don't want to hear any of that until this core turns it around, because why would you go waste an asset on these 5 forwards have been with this team. Giroux now for his 3rd season. This is not good enough. And I don't know what it is about this team. Even when they were winning, they weren't scoring that many goals. It's a problem. And they've won 1 game in their last 7, and they've completely taken themselves out of the driver's seat, in my opinion.
Before I snap on a number of other topics, and we appreciate all the supers coming in, we'll get to those at the end of the show. We're also going to get a boots on the ground report, because I needed to find someone who was at this game tonight. I'd like to apologize to Gab LaFrance, who won tickets from Sens Central today to go to the game. My apologies, man. I hope you had a good time hanging out with your friend and all the Sens fans at the CTC, because that product on the ice was flat out embarrassing tonight. Shots be damned. The finishing ability or lack thereof is how this game unfolded. For the 5th straight game, Ottawa allows the first goal. And may I remind you that a 1-goal deficit is all this team needs to lose a game. Now 4, 15, and 3 when they allow the first goal. When Ottawa scores the first goal, they're 15-3-0. But they haven't scored the first goal in 6 goddamn games. This is a complete mishap. And Adam Gaudette, ice cold, backdoor. Somebody should pull up the stats, since he said, you guys keep asking me if I'm surprised. I'm not. Well, what is he, 1 goal in 15 games since? Now, he's not, I have trouble pinning a lot on Adam Gaudette. It's just in that play. He's backdoor. It's not that difficult. Great pass by Nick Jensen. I'll tell you about a not so great pass by Nick Jensen a little bit later. But you got to bury these chances. It goes the other way. How is it a 2-on-0 the other way, by the way? It's a shot from the point with a backdoor tip. How do you let 2 guys behind the defense on the other way?
it doesn't make sense. And you can talk like, I'm almost mad at ourselves, Ross, and the fans should take no blame ever. Fans of any team should never take any blame for being mad about how their team's playing on the ice, especially coming home for the first time in 9 games, nearly a month away from your home rink.
But let me say something about that. This whole first game back from a long road trip, they played 1 road game in the last 5 days. Like, they've been at home. They practiced at home on Monday. They practiced at home on Wednesday.
That's part of what I'm talking about. That's part of what I'm saying is like I'm almost mad at us. I'm mad at us for being like, oh, they went 4-4-1 on the road trip. That was fine. They lost. They have 1 win in their last 7 games after winning 6 in a row. They've completely gotten rid of all the work that they did. Now, this might just be the team they are. They might just be a team that gets hot for stretches, gets cold for stretches. But with the way the Eastern Conference is shaping up, the fact that they're still in it is crazy. In the West, I think they'd be 6 or 7 points out right now. That's off the top of my head. But the East is such a crap show right now that they're in it. And they shouldn't be based on how they've played. This is now a 4-game losing streak. They had a 5-game losing streak earlier in the season. Then they turned it around and went 11-4-1. So they have to do that now. All of a sudden they have to put they've taken themselves out of the driver's seat. That's just the way I can describe this stretch of games. And I think the noise around them has been, it was an okay road trip, such a long, grueling one. Like I mentioned, they were home twice during it. That's as easy as it gets in terms of a 9-game road trip. You don't come home from those very often. I think the LA Kings went on like an 8-game road trip to start the season, and they weren't even close to home. It was all in the Eastern Conference. So I don't have any time for that, to be honest, anymore. And like, I was one of them. I was one of the people saying, so long, they got to be better. Or they will be better, whatever it is. But like, as I mentioned, with those last 11 games played, the offense has just been a problem even when they were winning games. So I don't know what happened, man. I do want to bring up Jensen just because you talked about that turnover. We can get into the D and whatever after. I want to talk about that first intermission interview. Obviously, Michael Andlauer went on in the second intermission, which was another headline one. Tough time to have a scheduled interview. I thought he was fine, but that's maybe a topic for you guys on LOSB tomorrow. But Jensen in the first intermission, he brought up a little bit unprompted, and I'm just kind of paraphrasing, but I do have one quote that he did say. He said, he was kind of asked about being down 2-0, how you played in that first period, though. And he said, we don't change the way we play based on the score. And I'm not doubting that he's not telling the truth. I think he is. When a veteran guy like that comes out and does an interview, that's coming from the leadership group, from the team, from the coaches, whatever. But they are 4-15-3 when they allow the first goal. That's a problem. And they don't change the way they play because their style of play doesn't help them chase hockey games. And they've been putting themselves in that position, like you said, 5 times in a row now. And they're 1-4 or 1-3-1 in those games or whatever it is. It's not good enough. So the way that this new identity that they've got, like of grinding and working hard and whatever it is, isn't working when they let up the first goal. Teams just shut them down. Our goalies just shut them down. It's embarrassing, man. And it's embarrassing. It would have been embarrassing if it was any team, but for it to be the Buffalo Sabres is such a knife twist, man. Like that's a hockey team that's lost 13 games in a row this season. They lost 13 in a row. And, every time they've had a lead of 2 or 3 goals, they blow it. Not tonight, though. They were fine tonight. No pushback from the Sens. They did push back, but again, that just makes the shot clock and the expected goals look way better. I just can't believe that.
Shane Pinto had a breakaway in the third period, beat the goalie, and still hit the post. Like, this team was not scoring a goal tonight. Nick Cousins trying a wrap around with 5 minutes left. Like, give me a break. And I think where I started laughing, where it's just like, it's not even sad anymore, it's just funny, is getting that power play near the end of the second period where you're like, at least get something going into the third. They gave up a shorthanded breakaway to Connor Clifton. A defenseman had a shorthanded breakaway out of a face-off play. It wasn't like a turnover where a guy falls at the blue line. Oh, wait, Tim Stützle did that in the first period too, and just let it be a 2-on-1 the other way. Great save by Forsberg. That was still at 0-0. But to have a set play off a face-off on a power play and give up a breakaway to a defenseman on the other team, you know how lackadaisical you have to be to allow that to happen? Those are just mistakes that are so unacceptable. And after the game, the players will say, yeah, it was unacceptable, but then we just keep seeing the same garbage over and over again. So just infuriating. Speaking of Nick Jensen, we'll get into that. Like, when are you taught? In novice, maybe Adam, do not flip a puck into the middle of your own zone. And not only did he do that, Tim Stützle did that as well, and he got bailed out by a bouncing puck. The bad puck management in their own zone tonight, they gifted Buffalo multiple goals, let alone the one that legitimately goes right off of Thomas Chabot's skate. No chance for Forsey on that one, but holy smokes. Talk about adding insult to injury.
And I think the thing that pisses me off the most, Ross, is that obviously the elephant in the room here is that Linus Ullmark's not playing, and he was playing as the best goalie in the NHL before he got hurt.
He's still 8-0-1 in his last 9.
Exactly. So like he's still hot technically. When he gets back in, that hot streak continues. But what bothers me is that during those games, like you outside noise, like outside the league, everyone else is going to look at this and be like, oh, they miss Ullmark. That's why they're not playing well. They're losing 4-0 because they're not playing well. He's not scoring all the goals. So that's one problem. We touched on that. But the team did not look this bad in front of Linus Ullmark. I can't remember a game. Maybe the San Jose game. That was it.
Definitely the San Jose. They got outshot 39-12 in that game.
But when they turned it around, that was actually one of the games where they turned it around since then, right?
Yeah, it was the second game because they beat Calgary in that Amazon game. And Noodles, this is how ridiculous it is with Forsberg's losing skid. Noodles goes, yeah, Forsberg hasn't won a game since the one against Calgary before Christmas. Not the one just before Christmas. That was the one on November 25th.
Yeah.
That started this whole thing. Like, I guess it was before Christmas. Noodles ain't wrong, but Noodles was definitely thinking about the Calgary game right before Christmas.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Before that.
But on that 8-0-1 streak for Ullmark, like he was obviously playing ridiculous and like some of the best goaltending we've ever seen here. But he wasn't stealing them hockey games though. Like they were playing well and deserving
the Pittsburgh
to win
game
them.
He stole. I felt like Pittsburgh was buzzing in that. The Carolina game, they got outshot 32-22. That shutout win.
But even that one, like I'm remembering in that one, I think they were up 2-0 after 2 and then Carolina.
No, they were up 1. They were up 1-0 until 6 minutes left in the game.
And then I think
in the second.
I think Carolina got all their shots like in a 5-minute span. So like he's winning them games. But I'm not.
The Nashville game, they got outshot 30 set. Like they didn't look that great in the Nashville game at home.
But Ross, I think a lot of these games, if you go period by period, most of those teams' shots are coming when the Sens are up 2 and they kind of just shut it down. I'm not discrediting what Ullmark did for this team and what he means when he's back. I'm just saying that what happened tonight. That hasn't happened in front of Linus Ullmark since the Vancouver game, in my opinion.
No, this one's not on Anton Forsberg.
That's kind of what I'm saying.
An extra save, sure. But all 18 skaters need to take accountability after this one.
I just can't believe what we saw from them. And I tweeted this out. Like it looked to me and it felt like going in that they were expecting it to be point night. And I think that's like, one of the worst things you can do as a hockey player is go into a game, especially in the NHL, for God's sake. And especially as a team that's been kicked in the face for years as a franchise. You should know not to go into any game expecting it to be easy. And they might have said all the right things, but it's so obvious with the way that game started, the odd man rushes they were giving up, that they thought this was going to be an easy game tonight. There's no doubt in my mind. They thought it was point night and it wasn't. So I just can't believe it, man. It was unbelievable.
We got Travis Green post-game press conference, courtesy of the Senators YouTube on deck. We've got Nick Spence, a boots on the ground report, and we will be abstaining from Sen Central standouts tonight. But let me tell you that the Glebe Central Pub is why we do the postcast after each and every game and for the great citizens in this great, great community. But the Glebe Central Pub is a community bar on 779 Bank Street, right in the heart of the Glebe, walking distance from Lansdowne. If you want to get a bite, a drink, a great time, head to the Glebe Central Pub. They've got live music every Saturday night, and they've also got the Send Shuttle. That's right. For just $17, you can get a round-trip ticket to and from the CTC. They've got lots of tickets remaining for the great games that are coming up later this month. For example, how about Saturday, January 18th against the Boston Bruins? Hockey Day in Canada. It's a 3 o'clock start. How about the Leafs game? Saturday, January 25th. Thursday, January 20th against Washington, and also January 16th against Washington. So those tickets are all available online Make sure to go out and support the team. Maybe they'll support you back, but we can always tell you Sue will get you there in one piece, and she'll get you back too. Just an hour and 15 minutes before the game, it takes off from the pub, and then it leaves the rink 15 minutes after the game, exactly where you get on. So it's easy to navigate, and you can beat the traffic at the Glebe Central Pub Shuttle. Go check them out, 779 Bank Street, and make sure you let them know that Locked On Senators sent you. It's the Glebe Central Pub. It's our pub in the heart of the Glebe. Make sure to check them out online at the Glebe Central Pub. Today's episode is also brought to you by Game Time. You need last-minute tickets. Of course, you want them at the lowest prices, so go check them out on Game Time. I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. One of my favorite memories was attending the Ottawa Senators home opener this year. I took the GCP shuttle and I got my tickets on Game Time. Game Time's made it even easier to get tickets for your favorite team with the new feature called Game Time Picks. This feature filters out the fluff and shows you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Make sure to take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL. That's LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, welcome back. It is the Postcast. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Jack Richardson. You can find us on Twitter in the handles below in the description of the show. Lots of super chats coming in. We will be getting to the chat a little bit later. But Jack, I think we need to get to Travis Green. I'm so curious what the head coach of the Ottawa Senators thinks about this game. Here he is, courtesy of the Ottawa Senators YouTube channel.
How would you assess tonight's game?
Some good stuff. Some stuff we didn't like.
No audio, eh?
What was the good stuff?
Oh, first period was pretty good. Shot them 2-1. Spent a lot of time in their zone. I thought the second period we pressed a little bit, turned over the puck more than we wanted to. When you look at the way they scored, we kind of handed them three goals, and had a lot of good looks. And obviously their goalie had a good game.
Those 3 goals that you handed them, were those just unlucky things or those preventative?
Well, I think one of them was unlucky. The block shot goal, guy coming out of the box. I didn't like the play on the first goal. And obviously the other one was you feel bad for Jens throwing it away, but.
Surprised, Travis, that your team is having a hard time scoring goals?
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. I mean, what did we end up with, 35 shots or something tonight? Had a lot of good looks, but again, their goalie has a say in it as well.
How do you avoid the frustration setting in with stretches like this?
You're going to get frustrated. It's hard not to. If you don't get frustrated, it's you're probably in the wrong business. You got to be up. Guys are upset. Guys are frustrated when they don't win, whether it's play well or not. But it's how you handle that frustration and how you reset.
How does teams going into the Christmas break? Since then, obviously that offense is a big one, but what's been missing?
Yeah, I think our offense is part of it. I thought there's 2 games that we really didn't like. In Dallas and St. Louis. Liked our game in Detroit. We probably need another goal. I know tonight was a 4-0 score. I don't know if that was indicative of the game. But you're not going to win a lot of games if you're not scoring.
What goes through your mind when you hear the crowd's reaction at the end of a game like that?
Yeah, I mean, fans want us to win. You never like to hear boos, but, they're passionate. They pay good money to come to the game, and they want us to win. But again, when you look at the game, really step away and look at it, I don't really believe it was like a 4-0 game where another team was all over us. It was far from that. But there were some plays that you can't make, and teams are going to make you pay the price.
No, I've heard enough of that, Jack.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
I'm done. This team had 6 shots in the second period, so I don't want
That's
to hear any of
exactly
that.
what I was going. He's talking about the shots on goal. You're down 2-0 going in the second period, and they get 2 goals and you get 6 shots. Give me a break.
I get what he means in the sense that if you're referring to another 4-0 loss like in St. Louis a week ago, different game for sure. But that's what makes this one more frustrating is why is this happening? I thought the questions were great too. What's happened to this team? And obviously it's the offense. If this is a 2-2 game after 2, we're having a different discussion, right? Or if they get 1 goal at some point, it's a different discussion. But that was really disappointing. That was really disappointing to hear. I actually really liked Green's post games for the most part this season. That was a disappointing one.
That was tough to listen to, honestly. I just think that this team needs to have, I think, a little bit more. I don't even want to use the word accountability, but understand the temperature outside the room. You can be calm in the room, but I think you have to at least address the fact that now this is 1 win in 7 games. Like, at what point do you just say we have not been good enough overall? Not nitpicking, oh, we didn't love our game here. We didn't love our game here. We deserve better here. No, as a whole, it's been bad. Your top players have not been good. What buttons are you going to press as the coach to get these guys going? Because Tim Stützle, I think, has been hurting the team more than helping over the course of the last 7 games.
Tim, he's had his worst stretch of the season, and it's
maybe his career.
Bad. Maybe. And the flu thing was an excuse, but again, like I gave that sample 11 games. He has, what is it? He's got 5 points in 11 games, and this is a guy who was on pace for 105 points. He was on pace to break a Senators record earlier this season. So something happened. They're not all battling an injury. They're all playing. So I don't know, man. It's frustrating, and it's frustrating when the coach is saying that's a good game. I don't know what he's telling the team because it's probably pretty obvious that most of the time what they're telling the media and fans is not the exact same message within the room. But I really hope he's not going back in that room and saying, stick with it, guys. We'll get them next time. Because that was embarrassing what happened. The 6 shots in the second period to me is what stands out. When you're down 2-0, you need a push. You go 0 for 4 on the power play on home ice. Like I 6 shots in the third. Like he mentioned the shots. He said we had 35 shots. Their goalie played well. You had 6 shots on net in the second period when you were down 2. That's all I have. That's all you need to know about that game.
Little surprised that they haven't been able to score goals. And I also found it interesting that the Sens live streamed that press conference tonight. No players. So we'll see. Maybe they'll post it later. Maybe it was just for Travis Greens. Who knows? But interesting, to say the least. Not that it matters in the grand scheme of things. If player talks to the media, I really don't think that it's
I kind of think it does. I kind of think it does, Ross. I don't know if people maybe kind of like, I notice it. I notice that when they're on the road, there are way fewer mics in their face after every game and before every game and before every practice, because people just, the media doesn't travel with the Sens and just in general. Like, I think it's more than twice the size when they're back at home. And you have that kind of I'd imagine the players spoke to the media. Like, it'd be crazy if they didn't. Not that what they're going to say is going to help. Like Tkachuk came out after the Dallas game and said that's unacceptable. We can't do that again. And they've lost 3 straight since. So it doesn't mean anything to me, but I'd like to see something because they haven't had any media pressure in this market ever, to be honest. So this is like, it'd be crazy if they don't put any players up, but I don't even know if they can do that.
So 4-0, the final score. Jack Quinn, good Ottawa boy. Talk about twisting the knife. How about an intermission? Claire Hanna asks, have you been in this building much? He goes, yeah, I was a huge Sens fan growing up. So that's insult to injury. He scores the first goal on a 2-0. And then the second goal, he jumps out of the box. So goes, whoops, here's the puck. Breakaway goal. Dylan Cousins scores the opening goal in the second period off of the turnover from Nick Jensen. And then Ryan McLeod off of Thomas Chabot's skate. The pair of Thomas Chabot and Nick Jensen, -4 each in tonight's game.
Brutal. Why did Nick Jensen forget how to play hockey when Zub came back? What happened?
No clue.
He was outstanding. Outstanding. And he's been terrible.
It's brutal.
I don't get
it's
it, man.
Brutal.
We
got Nick Spence standing by, a Sen Central citizen, and he was boots on the ground. First Let me tell you, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It is America's #1 sportsbook. Over at FanDuel, you can make every moment more. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. My account's empty after the game tonight because right now, new customers who bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets at FanDuel.com. They've got an unreal bet on the Buffalo Bills game this weekend. If the Bills complete one forward pass, think they're going to do it, Jack?
Yeah, I'm cheering against the Bills, though, this weekend because I hate the Sabres now.
You think they'll have one forward pass completion?
Probably, right?
Minus 110 on FanDuel. Maximum bet of $20, but go take advantage of that at FanDuel.com. Go make every moment more at FanDuel. This playoff season could be unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL and the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, Jack, my frustration is mounting. I want to hear from Nick Spence, who's about to jump on with us here, but what are your overall thoughts right now on the Ottawa Senators? I know we're riding the roller coaster. We were sky high and now we're 6 feet under, but how do you rationalize this in the grand scheme of things, now 3 points back of the teams who are sitting in the wild card?
They've proven they can get themselves back in the mix, and that's kind of what I'm banking on. It's a long season, not even halfway through. Saturday's their halfway through point, but just concerned. I'm concerned about all the top guys, and it's nothing about roster construction. It's nothing about goaltending to me, even though it's been bad without Olmark. I'm worried about the top 6 forwards not getting it done when it matters. That's what you need in the playoffs, man. And we've talked about this for years, how they're going to look come playoff time if we get there. But if they can't figure it out here with a little bit of adversity when teams are trying to play them well because they're a good hockey team and doing well in the standings, then we got bigger problems.
Buck writes in that Josh Norris is Dominic Kubalik as a center. We obviously know how invisible Dominic Kubalik was last year, has the great one-timer, but not much else. I mentioned on this morning's Locked On Sens, Michael Amadio and Josh Norris are tied in points in the last 10 games. Michael Amadio's played 3 of those games.
Unbelievable.
Josh Norris has 2 goals and no assists and was a -6 going into tonight. Not good enough. Not good enough.
It's not good at all. It's bad. That's bad stats from your top line center, or he's paid. I don't know.
Zach writes in that Timmy needs Brady and Josh needs Drake. He wants to see some lineup changes, and that leads in to another comment from Zach saying, why does Travis Green keep playing the same line combos that don't work? 4 goals in 4 games, still no changes. I did see they went back to Stützle, Tkachuk, Giroux in the 3rd period tonight, but talk about too little too late, eh?
Yeah, and then Tkachuk fights and he's out for half the period. I don't know, man. I mean, we've seen this movie. I'm not going to harp on that.
No, me neither. That's the 50th biggest problem.
I know, yeah. And honestly, I mean, Tkachuk didn't have a good game. Obviously, no one did. But he's been somewhat of a bright light in this stretch. Him, Pinto, and Greg have actually been pretty good together. So, yeah, it is tough because I thought Stützle, he was moving at least after the first. He couldn't stay on his feet, for God's sake. But, he was creating chances, which was something he wasn't doing in the first 5 games. But the other guys are, I don't know, man. There's nothing around. They're slow. They're a slow forward group. I've been saying that all season. You've heard me say it. They just don't have enough speed. And when they are chasing games, it's hard to get back into it.
Always Sen says the team is pathetic. Claude Giroux looks lifeless out there. Josh Norris barely looks like an NHL player. A lot of vitriol for Josh Norris. I mean, the production just simply isn't there. However, in the one win they got in the last 7 games, he scored the game-winning goal in the 3rd period against Minnesota. That's why we know he can do it, and it makes it even more frustrating when he doesn't. Jimmy Stu, if you don't trust your goalie, you'll 100% play different, and I don't know if that's the full reason. Hopefully Steve Stais knows what the problem is. The only thing I'll say about that to Jimmy is usually that means don't you kind of go into a shell and try to defend better for the goalie you're not confident in, not put pucks on their stick in the middle of the slot or kick pucks in off your own skate. Although, I mean, that's a centering pass. That one's probably the one of the least concern, but breakaways, odd man rushes, they were giving it all up. And Sens fans in Van say the same thing. So many odd man rushes and bad giveaways. No pride in their game. Brian writes in, time to change the core. Too long seeing the same old thing. Easier said than done mid-season. That's the thing there, Brian. I think it's easy to be reactive in these situations, but you got to make the money work. You got to have both sides in agreement on what the value is of these players. But I understand the sentiment right now, and 0 goals in 2 of your last 3 games, it's just not going to cut it. Now let's head to a man who was unfortunate enough to be boots on the ground tonight. Our good buddy Nick Spence. Nick, what's going on, dude?
Just getting off the bus now, guys. So if the sound is awful or whatever, just kick me out. And I'm sorry if this is terrible. But man, what a brutal game. Like, that was one of the worst experiences you could ever have in the arena.
Did you stay till the end, Nick?
Dude, I take the bus home. I got to stay till the end.
Oh my gosh!
Live from the OC Transpo is great.
Me and my poor wife here got to put up with that. That was as bad as I've ever seen. Like, think of the 2 Panthers games last year. That was right up there. That was terrible.
Yeah.
I didn't even know where to start, Nick. Like, when did you? I like asking the boots on the ground people who were at the game. When did you realize they didn't have it tonight? Like, what was the moment for you where you were like, this game's over?
It was early in the first. Early in the first, we said to the 2 people that have season seats next to us, we're like, whatever. It was nice that we weren't here for a month and they just didn't show up.
Yeah, and they didn't. When did the Boo Birds start? We heard them at the end of the second and end of the third.
It was mostly the third. The third, it was bad. Like, I honestly spent the third period talking to Sensual Healing on the concourse with my wife and with a buddy. Like, it was 4-0 at the end of the second. You could tell they didn't have it tonight. They weren't going to come back. So I just hung out with friends. Like, I've never spent a period on the concourse in the arena before, but tonight was just that bad.
Yeah, it was. Do you have any Sen Central standouts for us, Nick?
God, no. Anyone that stuck around till the end of that game.
Yeah, I agree with you there, man.
Do you have
times, brother.
Nick, let's go the opposite. We've been venting for like almost half an hour.
Yeah, so I haven't seen anything because I was on the bus. So, like, what have you guys been picking on?
That's perfect. I was going to ask you, is there one player that you want to see some more from? Because we've carved a few guys here already, but we're just when you're watching there in person, who are you looking at on this team being like that?
I'm done with Forsberg. He's got to go. I'm sure you guys have picked him apart, and I know it wasn't all his fault tonight because the defense left him out to dry, but I'm done. Like, the team isn't going anywhere if he's our goalie. Like, if Ullmark's hurt, we need to get someone. We need someone in there because Forsberg can't do it. He's way too inconsistent. He can't stop a breakaway. His 5-hole is gigantic. Like, he was brutal tonight. Jensen and Shabbat did not have it tonight. They've had it most of the year this year, but tonight wasn't it. Like, any of those 3 are easy pickouts for just not having the night.
Just disgusting out there. Hey, Nick, is this something where you want to see a reactionary change, or you're just hoping for better on a big game Saturday against Pittsburgh?
I mean, I'd love that. I think that, like, I'm overreacting because I was just there and, you get mad. Like, I know, Ross, you're a big advocate of, like, nothing I say after the game counts.
I told anyone affiliated with the Ottawa Senators to turn it off before we started.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm furious. I spend my money and go to the games. It's tough. But like, tonight is hard, man. How can you have faith in what you just saw? Like, 9 games on the road, you come home and that's what you do? That was brutal. That was terrible to show in front of your fans after a month away from the CTC.
Well, you deserve your money back and a good night's sleep, Nick. Any final thoughts before we run?
I'm sorry that I gave tickets to that guy today. Like, I'm really bad. I feel bad that I gave away tickets to that game. Sorry, Gab. He said he had fun, but I don't believe him.
Yeah, I don't believe him either. Hey, at least you had fun in the concourse. That was a good.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. It was good. Like, I love getting out to the CTC, and I still love the Sens, and I'll be back on Sunday, right? Like, I mean, I'm mad now, but I'll be happy again in 24 hours, right?
Yeah. Well, hey, vent this one out. We appreciate the boots on the ground report, Nick. You're a good friend of the show, and we'll do this again soon.
Absolutely love you guys. And Jack, it was nice to talk to you for the first time, I think, since Stanley's like a year and a half ago or 2 years ago now.
Jeez. Wow. That's a throwback.
It's been a bit.
Yeah. Huh.
Well, awesome, man. Okay, we'll talk soon, Nick. There you go.
All right, take it easy, guys.
Nick Spence, Great Sense Central citizen. You can follow him on Twitter at WhiskeyNick95. Jack, any final thoughts on this? I feel like this team put in way less than 40 minutes of effort tonight, and we're already at 41.
Yeah, no, we're putting in more than they did, so that's something for us to hang our hat on. Just shout out everyone in the chat again. Like all these losses that pile up like this, it's kind of goes to show how passionate this fan base is, and like this is going to be a roller coaster of a season. We're going to have more like this, but we're going to definitely, hopefully, have some more highs as well. Like I hope, but yeah,
I hope so too. James notes here the goal differential against the last place Buffalo Sabres 9-1 this year. Total score.
It's gross. It's just gross. I don't know, man. Like, what do you think, Ross? What are your final thoughts on this one?
I got my venting out. I feel a little bit better, not about the score or the game, but just about being able to let the emotions get the best of me for a minute. Now we regroup, we get into tomorrow, and what does hold it all together, I'm convinced that one day this will be a good hockey team, and days like this will just make it feel so much better. But I'm not going to. I'll tell you this: if the Sens sneak into like the second wild card spot for another day, another week, all that, I'm not getting on a high horse. This team has to prove it over a 30-game sample. We gave them, I think it was 17 last time, and we're like, oh, they're there. But the crash and burn was just, it's almost like the roller coaster where you're like clipping up, and then once it falls, it's game on from there. So I need a long sample size before I'm going to get completely bought in to this core. But start Saturday, because the team directly ahead of you, the Pittsburgh Penguins, who you have 3 games in hand on, you've got them on Saturday. And they've got 4 wins in their last 10, and you have 4 wins in your last 10. So go out on the road, prove something, and we'll go from there.
Maybe there'll be a better team on the road now. Maybe that'll be just how it goes the rest of the season, which would be pretty fun because they have 11 of their last 12 games at home. But
yeah, you got to get there though.
You do. It's a long season. Like, still think of all the games that have happened this year. I'm kind of been sitting here thinking about all that, like all the crazy ones they've had at the CTC so far, and they're not even halfway through the year. So a lot more.
Identical record, as Muck says, the Montreal Canadiens after 40 games.
Not great. Think of the expectations coming in for both teams, right? And I don't know, man.
Linus Ullmark is the only guy who can come in here and completely change my outlook on the team. He's the only guy at this.
Well, because everyone else is healthy and playing. Like, it's not like we're missing Kachuk for a stretch, or Stützle, or even Norris. Like, even for years when Norris has been hurt, I still haven't let it out yet, clearly. But like, even when Norris has been hurt, it's always been an asterisk, being like, oh well, they haven't been fully healthy. You know, that record with all 3 centers in the lineup that we kept throwing up because they hadn't all played together keeps getting worse by the day, because, now they're all in here. They're all playing. So to me, it's just gut check time for these guys, man. They're not young anymore. They kept saying it. Like, figure it out. It's time to figure it out. You're not a young team. Start winning games. Start stringing together wins and be professionals. Like, that's just what's concerning me a little bit, is that we're watching just the same story.
Final thoughts from me, or final note, more like Noah Gregor suffered an injury, went hard into the boards, feet first, and he will not return. Travis Green, after we cut him off after being a little bit disgusted by the way that he was being too rational for us in that moment, Noah Gregor's going to be out, quote, a while. So I don't know if they're going to add that to the excuse bin, a 4th-line winger being out. Better not be. I like his speed. I like what he brings. Hopefully it's not a high ankle sprain, because that would neuter his biggest attribute of being a good skater. It did not look good. Hopefully he gets well soon. It's just another kick in the face. Senators will practice at 11:30 a.m. tomorrow, and we'll hear from them afterwards. For today, we say goodbye. Thank you so much to the chat. Honestly, you guys make this something that we look forward to, win or lose. I mean that wholeheartedly. Over 300 people live at 10:30 p.m. on a weeknight after a 4-0 Sens loss. I had my mouth frozen today. I don't know if I sounded awful, but I'm just, hey, we got the flu. We get the teeth. Thank goodness Pilsy's not here, because the panic button, I'm sure, would not be thrown behind him anymore. He's got to go find that thing. Now, I don't know if it's time to press it. I'll ask him tomorrow. But for tonight, get a good night's sleep. Y'all deserve it. Let's get some Go Sens Go in the chat. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team, every day. Senators lose 4-0 to the Buffalo Sabres despite outshooting them 35-21. They go 0 for 4 on the power play, only 9 blocked shots, 27 hits, and at 5-on-5, they carried 64.5% of the expected goals. But all of that, crumple it up, Kobe, right in the garbage can. The Senators lose and are now 1-5-1 in their last 7 games. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team every day.